Today's video is not one that I had planned to make, but I'm actually really excited about. In this video, I'll be going through the supplies that I use on a regular basis in my journal, as well as alternatives that I recommend for beginners or folks on a budget. To begin with, you're gonna need a journal itself. I currently use Archer & Olive brand, which typically runs around the $30 mark, which is admittedly a bit on the pricey side. However, they're super high quality and the pages are super thick and work great with a bunch of different mediums. They also have a bunch of fun designs and come in different sizes. I use the A5 size. I have this other journal which is fancier, but the pages are thinner and I haven't really used it for too much. I think it was around $15 from Earthbound. A really great brand that I'd recommend for beginners, I don't have with me currently though, is Scribwell. I used them before I switched to Archer & Olive, and they're also really high quality and typically run around $20, but if you find them on sale, they can be as low as $10. Next, you're going to want some outlining pens. My go-to is the Tombow Fudnowskis, as they're very versatile and easy to use for calligraphy, but running at about $10 a pack of 2 puts them on the pricey side. The same effect can be achieved with a little more effort from a normal outlining pen. Some others that I like to use are Faber-Castell fine liners. As you can see, mine are pretty dry. I do use them a lot. However, they are certainly on the high-end side, as well as the microns. If you were to choose between the two, I personally would lean to the Faber-Castells, as they're a nice rich black, and I've had trouble with the microns tips splitting before. But as you can see, I do still have a few that I'll use every so often. A really good and affordable alternative would be the Sharpie brand fine liner, though I would be careful applying that one too thick because it might bleed through your pages. The Pilot G2 is also a really good option, but be really careful of smearing with this one. It's pretty bad about that. Another thing that I would recommend you have, but it's absolutely not a necessity, are white and metallic pens. The Signo Uniballs are a classic, and even though they're a bit pricey at $3 a pen, I haven't really found a good alternative, and they do last quite a while, so you get your money's worth. The Jelly Roll pens might be an alternative, but they cost about the same, and I found the Uniballs to just have a better application and a longer lifespan. In terms of metallic pens, the same applies for the Signos, but I also love these Recollections metallic markers. I don't remember how much they cost. I think they come in all sorts of different pack sizes. I think they're also around $3 a marker. And they don't bleed through the page as long as you don't layer them, but you won't need to layer them because they're extremely pigmented. It's so satisfying. You're also gonna likely want to add some color to your journal. I use a few different tools for this, though most commonly I gravitate to watercolor. Using watercolor in a journal is definitely something I could make an entire video about, because if you're not careful, it can ruin the journal or bleed through the pages, so it's not really for the faint of heart. But for those of you who do want to take it on, these are some of the palettes that I use. The Koi watercolors are my go-to. As you can see, this palette is very well loved. They're super pigmented and easy to work with, but definitely on the pricey side at about $30. Not as bad as it could be, but not an investment I would make if you're still learning the ropes. The Michaels brand palette is much better suited for beginners, though I do think it's a good palette for any skill level. It's still fairly high quality and you get a range of color, but it does take more water to get full pigmentation and doesn't blend as well. Again, I can make a separate video about watercolors on their own. The other two palettes that I have are this Winsor & Newton, which is very expensive at $30, and I honestly think the Koi watercolors are a higher quality, but I do still enjoy using at some times. And this generic metallic palette, which I do use on occasion, though I typically defer to my metallic pens for this. Another way to add color to your journal is with markers. As you can see, I have quite the collection of Tombow dual brush pens. They're definitely a higher end product, running at about $4 a marker. My large set that you can see here was $300-ish, but most if not all of the colors are there, and I certainly get my use out of it. Because of the double ends, they work great for a lot of things, and they're water-based, so as long as you're careful with layering and your pages have some sort of thickness to them, you'll be okay with bleeding. They also last you quite a while, making the price a little bit more manageable. My recommendation for anyone wanting to try them would be to start out with a set of the essential colors for your typical usage and slowly build your collection from there. An alternative, however, is the Crayola Super Tips. Though they don't have quite the versatility of a brush tip, and they're a lot more likely to bleed through, they can be used for calligraphy really well and do have a vibrant color and a lot of options. They're also very cheap. Many people use the Zebra midliners for their journals, and I have some, as you can see, not nearly the range that I have in the Tombos, because I don't use them that much at all. In my journal, anyway. I think these are less suited for journalers like myself who value creativity over functionality, and more for those who use their journals strictly as a planner that want to add a pop of color. Of course they can be used for art, I just choose not to. Since they're highlighters, the colors aren't nearly as vibrant or wide a range, and I've used these in my journal before, but it's not my favorite, and that's just my preference. They're around the same as the Tombos in terms of price, and they do have a very thin ink, so they're not likely to bleed. I think they'd be a great option for a journal with thinner pages, as long as you are careful. The next item I would recommend, but it's absolutely not a necessity. This double-sided tape is just a lifesaver in situations where I have an insert that I want to put in my journal, or if you use your journal as a scrapbook, or you've got some Polaroids you want to stick in there. It's just a really handy tool, and you can get them relatively cheap anywhere that sells office supplies. 10 out of 10, do recommend. Another item of convenience that I would highly recommend getting is this circle stencil. Like, you don't need it. You can freehand or trace circles using cups for $0, but I will swear by this because it's got all kinds of different circles and it's just so handy to have. So if you're going to make a convenience investment for your journal, definitely recommend this circle stencil. I got it for $7, and I'm sure you can find one cheaper off of Amazon or at a local craft store. This is just what mine had. It also functions as a straight edge, so she's a multitasking woman, and it just does wonders. I love it. You should get one of these. Something that I personally don't use as much but still see fit to talk about is washi tape and stickers. I do have quite an extensive collection of washi tapes considering how little I use them, but exactly for that reason I don't have many here. Washi tapes are great for protecting edges from paint or color though, which is what I use them for 99% of the time, even if you don't plan to include it in the journal itself. They can be found at a variety of prices, and I get most of mine in sets of 10 for around like $5 at Tuesday Morning, but they come in all different size packs, designs, sizes, and even cost depending on what you're looking for. Stickers are the same way. I do enjoy these packs and these sticker planners, but I don't really find myself gravitating towards them as often. Individual stickers can also be fun, and I've got a couple here. I would be amiss if I didn't also mention rulers. I prefer to use small ones in my journals, though I don't mind the big ones on occasion, like the 6-inch ones. I have this one that I use most often purely because of its size, and I just like it a lot. I do, however, recommend getting a clear ruler if you can find one, like the other two that I'm showing you, so that you can see what you're outlining. It just makes your life a little easier. Obviously, there's many other supplies that I could talk about, but this is just what I find the most useful. Perhaps in the future I'll make a video about supplies that I don't recommend. That could be fun. As always, any video ideas are always welcome in the comments. That'll be all for this video, and I do hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching to the very end, and if you did enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content just like this. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!